Hi, this is R.J. Cooper. I'm going to show you how to fix the articulating arm. First, I'm going to take my arm and I'm going to remove this little piece here, and I'm going to put it into this little V right here. And that way I can attach it to a table or desk that has parallel surfaces. Next, I'm going to remove my tablet holder by pulling on this tab here. Pops right off. I'll set that down. I'm also going to remove my tipper. If yours is glued on, then just leave it in place. Next, I'm going to remove the studs. In hardware, this piece right here, when I loosen this thumb screw, that slides out. And that was part of the problem, is that this slides in and out too easily. So I take that one off. I'm going to do the same down here. But this time, I'm just going to pop that off. So that was part of the problem. The other part of the problem was that the texture of this stud was so smooth that the arm could rotate around the stud. We don't want that. Finally, I'll just loosen this big thumb screw right here. That holds this stud in place. And now this piece and this piece. Those are actually the problems right there. These are called studs in the hardware world. And we're finished with the super clamp for a little while. We're just going to work with the studs and the arm. Your repair kit basically was simply replacement studs. So here's one stud of the new ones, and here's the other one. The big differences are that it has a collar, that's what we call that piece there, so it can't slide in and out of the joints. And also there's a texture. It looks a little rough because I had to spray paint on a special texture so it doesn't rotate too easily when it's in the joint. So we're just going to put these two new studs where the old studs were. So now we just need to put the new studs in where the old studs were, into these joints. So first, I'm going to pick up the arm. And I'm going to hold it like this with my thumb pressing that way. There's a bolt in here, and I want my thumb to keep pressure on that bolt so it pushes all the way through. Next, I'm going to undo this thumb screw and that washer. And notice that there's two holes here. It goes into the bigger one. And I'm going to try to keep these apart and put this into the bigger of the two holes while I'm pulling that towards that. See the small hole, and this is in the bigger one. Then I'll take my washer right there, and I'll take my thumb screw, and that one is complete. Now I'll do the same with the other end, and I'm going to show you Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. So I'm going to loosen this. It's going to drop off along with the washer. But let's just say it all comes apart and you're faced with something like that. Not to worry. Push these two halves together. Make sure that this bolt, the head of the bolt, is seated all the way in. It has a little place that it fits in. And just jiggle it around till it's all the way down in there. Now try to keep your finger in the hole there, holding on here. Put the washer on. Now this is the part that goes next, the part with the teeth. Goes towards the teeth, so teeth on teeth. Notice when I put this piece on that there's a big hole here and a little hole. And notice that on this piece, the covering part of the joint, there is a little stud here that's going to go into the bigger hole here. This is the only tricky part. I know you can do this though. So I'm going to put these here together like that. Then I'm going to take my second replacement stud and fit it into the bigger slot. All the while I'm keeping pressure on my bolt here so that it's all the way seated in. But now I've got my stud into the bigger of the two holes here. And I've got things pressed all the way in that way. And now I have my replacement studs in place. Old studs, come back to me. Now we're going to put things all the way back together. Don't be afraid to really crank these down. Look at how I have that one so that I could put it into the hole of the super clamp. I have my thumb screw backed off a bit. I press my silver button and I should be able to insert all the way down and then tighten as so. Now I can loosen this, get this where I want, and you'll notice several things. First of all, the joint can't slide off of the stud because of this new collar. Secondly, when you tighten it down, it actually stays where you want it. Now I'll do the same with this end. Now, a word about the tipper. The tipper screws in. If you tighten this joint sufficiently, you should be able to get enough pressure to screw that in so it stays. However, sometimes when our learner hits the iPad, they pull this counterclockwise, and counterclockwise simply unscrews the tipper. So what we do is we take a little drop of super glue, back the threads off so we can see the threads on the tipper, drop some super glue on the threads of the tipper, and then just tighten it up and let it sit for an hour or so, and that will become very firm on the stud. Snap this back on, and we're ready for action.